Digital Audio Health by Simatrax.
Welcome to the Rhonda Grant Show with your host, Rhonda Grant. If you believe that there is more to life than what you see right now, and you want to find out more, listen in as her guests share their journey and their extraordinary experiences. Now, here is your host, Rhonda Grant.
Welcome to the Rhonda Grant Show. Sometimes the universe has a way of placing people or obstacles in your path to help guide and direct you on your mission. Listen in as we discover the path my guest has traveled. Has she been inspired by a calling, crafted her journey, or a bit of both? I invite you to embrace the conversation and to use it to help you to recognize if this is happening in your life. Our guest today is Kim Woods, who is a master astrologer and business strategist who combines ancient feminine wisdom, astrology, and over 25 years of C-suite experience to help leaders make a big impact. Her mission is to create rich and powerful leaders through her success-making methodology that over 20,000 people have participated in to clear the pathway to their success. Welcome to the Rhonda Grant Show, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here with you today.
Well, I'm so looking forward to our journey together. Let the audience know a little bit about your background before we dive into the really good stuff.
I have a traditional background. I grew up Catholic. Middle class in America, and I went to college and I started a corporate career. And I was lucky enough to have a lot of success in that corporate career. And then the universe got a hold of me and said, oh, absolutely not. You are not doing things in a traditional way. So we are going to press you to not be able to do that anymore. And so that happened, and it was a little bit of a tumble for a bit until I found my footing into what I do now, which is combine astrology with business strategy.
So, curiosity, what were some of the messages or things that were happening to nudge you in a different direction or this different direction?
Yeah. So I grew up with astrology because my mom, although she was Catholic, she believed in astrology. So that window was wide open my whole life. She knew that the original popes either had astrologers or were astrologers themselves. So that gave her permission to allow that window to be open, which I completely appreciated. So that was kind of an outlying factor in my life. So knowing that in the background, and then when I, and growing up in corporate, I adore business. I mean, I adore leadership. I adore business. I love sales. I love numbers. Like, what's not to love? It's just awesome. And so I was all in that. And then, like most people, met my husband, got pregnant, had a child, and, that's typical. You can go back to work or whatever. But my son was born with developmental issues. And so at the time, I knew like this was one of those moments where the skies parted and like the light shone. And I knew if I went back to work and continued things the way that they were, he was not ever going to be able to have a typical life. So I knew that I needed to step out of my amazing, career at Oracle, and it was going exactly the way I wanted, and step aside and say, okay, I am going to be 100% dedicated to helping this child develop appropriately, correctly on his own space and time. And what ended up happening was he had a huge appetite for healing. And so I could do the normal, Western practices and do all those things, but I could actually then go into the Eastern methods. And it was the combination of the two that we saw the greatest results. And so here I am, Rhonda, I'm on this path of gathering every single thing I can, whether it was like vibrational healing or whether it was, like shamanism even, or whether it was something as simple as, getting the meridians in line and through acupuncture. So we did all different things to bring him into more his brain-body connection and to align that. The good news is it worked fabulously. He's a senior in college. He's totally typical. He has a girlfriend. He has a sense of humor. He's a great athlete, all the things the doctor said that he wouldn't be. And it was through that process that I realized, there's a different way to do things. There's a different way to live. There's a different way to do all the things. And I was still running a traditional business strategy firm that I had started because you have to pay for these things. And the universe, then the next wallop was absolutely not, you're not doing this. You're just not doing this. And it got to be the pressure was so loud and intense, and I could feel those skis separating, that my personal life and my beliefs were wildly separate from my business. And anytime I tried to bring them a little bit together, it didn't work. Until I literally had to burn that business to the ground and then start anew, and had to front face with intuition, astrology, woo, however you want to say it.
Wow. What a ride.
Yeah. What a ride.
What a ride. I mean, you unpack so much there and I could have grabbed hold of any single one of those things and we could have really talked about it. But, I think that if I was sitting at home and I was wondering about something that you had said, is the skies parted. What did that feel like for you?
It was it was terrifying because, my mind knew my trajectory. I'm a strategist, right? I could see my next 5 years. I knew exactly where my career was going. I knew exactly what I had formulated. And so I felt super comfortable with that. But as my mind was saying yes, it didn't come out of my mouth. Literally, I can still picture exactly where I was standing in front of my boss and saying, I need to leave. And he was then saying, but you're going to take over the Americas and you're going to have 20 VPs and it was literally every single thing that I had worked for over a decade. And you can bring the baby to work and we'll make this work. And I just knew, like, this is where your intuition says something and your mind is saying something else, and you get to choose. You get to choose. And so I did.
And now look where you are.
Well, I freaked out about it for a good year and a half. I mean, this was not something that I was
it's not easy.
This is so great.
No. These things are not easy, not at all. And, I know myself, it's really easy when you get that hit of intuition to question it, ignore it, and do what you think you should be doing instead of what intuition is telling you. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So this must have hit you pretty hard for you to listen, or it continued to tell you until you started to listen.
Yeah. So there were two aspects of that. That one hit me really hard, and it was like a sudden change. And I think I was able to say yes to it because it was my son involved and not me.
Yes.
I think as a mom or as a woman, we have a tendency to say yes to someone else versus to ourselves. But the next time it was more of a grind. It was more of that kind of like wear me down kind of thing and give me smaller inklings and smaller messages until I finally I just had to say yes. And one thing I'll say about intuition, Rhonda, is that the intuition is really patient and really kind. It's just like the heart. It's going to be quiet. It's going to wait for you. It's going to give you the space that you need. I mean, it's a beautiful energy that's there with you all the time. And that's why it's so easy to say no to, because it's going to say, I love you anyway. Don't worry, I'll come back. Whereas the mind is not, the mind can be kind, but mind not really. Often the mind is relentless. The mind is constantly churning and constantly looking for new information. Well, not new information that it can gather to then feel more comfortable. Right. So the mind is always going to be louder than intuition until it's not.
Yeah. It's the old until it's not. Yeah. Because it keeps on coming back and nudging and nudging and nudging. And sometimes it will create havoc. It did in my life. Actually, a few times. Yeah. And when I didn't listen, it just kept on hitting me harder and harder and harder until I had to listen. And sometimes those things happen in people's lives. And so if people are trying to make sense of getting intuition and not listening to it, and then things are happening in your life that don't even make sense, to try and get you to realize that that's what you need to be doing and listen to the intuition, you need to, because these things are going to come at you. It's going to come at you more and more. So, you said something that I think I knew, but I had forgotten, is that you said about the Pope, and the Pope is very much listens to astrology. And with astrology, I've enjoyed astrology over the years, but when I did have my chart done, a while ago, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is the map that I need for my life. I can't believe that I spent almost my whole life not knowing what the messages were in my astrology. Can you talk about that to the audience?
Absolutely. So, we're souls that say yes to having a life. And so what I believe is that we choose the time that we're going to be born because we want to have the certain elements in the sky, like the planets are going to have impact on us. The constellations are going to have impact on us. The sun and the moon are going to have impact on us. And so we say, okay, right, we're going to be born in this geography with this family and under these stars. And under the stars is the roadmap of your life. It's the celestial navigation of all of your potential. It's the map of your potential. And so your soul says, okay, these are the lessons I'm going to learn. These are the challenges I'm going to have. These are the skills I'm going to have. These are the supports I'm going to have. And this is all set up for you. And then we have free will. So we come in and then we say, oh, okay, great. I am going to be, able to be super creative and I'm going to be able to express myself really beautifully. And then there's some things that happen in life that inhibit that. And we have the choice of whether we choose to overcome it or not. But yet it's all laid out, and all of the ways to overcome any obstacle are right in your chart as well. All the answers are there, every single question. People say to me, what questions do you answer? And I say, all of them. All of them. I can answer every single one of them.
Wow. And do you find that people have more confidence once they are able to look into that part of their life that they really didn't know how important it was to them? Do they end up having a confidence about them that they didn't initially have because now they're saying, okay, well, that's why, or I wondered why I was drawn to that sort of, ability or whatever?
Yeah. So what I end up doing is I'm an astrologer, but I'm also an intuitive and I'm a healer and I'm a strategist. It's all wrapped into one. So I literally walk into the stars the minute you're born and channel the voice of your soul. So your soul is speaking to you through me. And what ends up happening is whatever you're ready to hear. And a lot of it's a remembrance, Rhonda. Like you knew that, like you knew that. And most people will cry that first session because it's their soul is speaking to them. And for the first time in their life, without any agenda, they're seen, heard, and known in all of their fullness. And so a lot of it's validating and they're like, oh, yes, I remember that about me now. Oh, yes, that is great. That's a huge gift. And then I'm able to then go into those areas that may be a little bit, vulnerable or maybe want to have a little bit of support because we're going to go ahead and heal those. I download healing codes too. So we're going to go and heal that for you. So you may have an issue. Maybe that example that I used that you're going to be super creative and you're going to use your voice. Well, maybe in this lifetime you had a teacher that wasn't that kind to you, or you were in a play that didn't really work out, or, we're impacted by life, right? So maybe there's some healing that needs to happen with that. But regarding confidence, 100%. People that come in and work with me, they're not feeling like they don't have confidence. They're not feeling like they're coming in as super vulnerable. They're super fascinated. Like, oh my God, you can tell me all these things. You can help me grow my business and you can help me, be a better leader. And I can, do all these things that I want to do. Yes. And first, we're going to go in and we're going to open you up to your full potential. And we're going to look at the areas that you are super strong in and that we can just, leverage those. But we're going to look at those areas that have the biggest gap and we're going to fill them in.
Well, it's awesome. And you're so excited about it.
I love it. I can't believe I get to do this work.
Isn't that wonderful? And people make decisions in their life when they were so young that they shouldn't have been making those decisions for themselves. And, and sometimes when we're young, and I mean school age, that we take knocks, we take bangs and all this sort of stuff, but we don't tell anybody. We don't share that with somebody so that they could help us realize that this is part of life or whatever, and sort of reframe it for you so you don't carry it with you, but also, make decisions in your life, when you're 30 years old based on something that happened to you at 8, when your brain wasn't even developed enough to make that whatever decision you made at 8, right? Like standing up and speaking in public and not doing well. And just keeping that is, I have to cross that off my list.
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so we make these decisions in our life that, by the time you're 40 or 50, you could actually become sort of crippled in a sense that taken so much away from you that you only do what is safe and reliable, right? Speak to us about this.
There's several things that are happening. The arc of life is happening, so as you're getting to that like 50, 60, 70 years old, there is a waning aspect to the energies, right? So we're constantly, we want to open ourselves up to wonder, and we want to say, okay, we're still curious, and we want to kind of fight against that, life wanting to become smaller. That's at that part of the year. I mean, life. But in the beginning part of life, I often say to my clients, would you let the 4-year-old drive the car?
Yeah.
Right? No. But we're letting the 4-year-old drive the car. And I just pick 4 just because, it's cute and whatever. And the 4-year-old can't see over the steering wheel and whatever. So, but that's what's happening. We get impacted. Sometimes it's not even our own beliefs. It's just beliefs through like the group that we hung out with, or the place where we lived, or the industry that we're in, or something. So we take on all these things, and I don't even know that we realize that we do, because it happens by osmosis. It's just little tiny things. And you're right. The mind is always going to approach things that it is familiar and it's already known. So the mind is going to keep us safe. And what I say to people is that growth, if you come to me, you're looking for growth and transformation. It's not, it's uncomfortable. So the mind is going to reject it in some way, shape, or form. So we want to go, that's why we're going to go to your heart. We're going to go to your soul. We're going to go to your knowing that you know this to be true, to give you the confidence, with the word that you used before, to be able to get through this, to be able to open up. So the 8-year-old who got shunned or made fun of by his friends when he was trying to speak in front of the group, and maybe he hesitated or something, that person isn't the one that's standing on the stage with that CEO giving a toast to his constituents at holiday celebration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because some of these obstacles can be pretty tough to get over.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And getting back to the astrological chart, the prescription is there, because we're all unique, right? So yes, there are certainly ways to, and it's certainly certain, modalities or methods or things that work for everybody, or work for most people. Of course, that's true. But then there are those unique, things that happen to us that we want to be able to unravel based on you individually, because they got tied up in a certain way. So we want to be able to pull those threads and pull those strings to be able to let you unwind from that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said something really interesting, and I just caught it. You said prescription.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's many things that ail us that we go to the doctor to get a prescription for. But if we knew ourselves way more and could step into those roles that we've come here to do, confidence, and live in the true essence of who we really are, I think the prescription is the astrology chart and not for the doctor, because I think that, but okay, so talk to us about when people, they start to change, but they're worried about change because they're worried about what other people might think. Because Absolutely. I think that's what's really holding people back from living their true self. Do you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. So in all of my work, I am going to be talking about your environment. I'm going to be talking about who's important to you in your environment, who's supportive of you, who's, I don't really have to name the people who aren't supportive, but we all have them, right? Whether it's a friend or it's somebody we work with, or even a client or a colleague or something, we have them. So as you're starting to grow, you're absolutely right, because you're changing. You are going to shift. So that's what I talk about with people, even before they come in. I say, you are going to transform. You are going to change things. Those people that are near and dear to you, we're going to start looking at, and we're going to start having conversations with them. And we're going to have conversations with them like, guess what? I'm changing our relationship, especially a partner. I'm changing it. I know that. I'm going to be changing the relationship. So with that, I'm going to be super communicative. I'm going to communicate, with you a lot. And I'm going to take you with me. Don't worry about it. because that's what that partner is fearing. The partner is fearing that through that change, there could be a degree of separation. If you keep that person informed and then you tell them like, yes, I'm growing, because you're going to start having results in your life that your partner has never seen before. Whether that's, all of a sudden you have your first 6-figure month, or, go from a team for 3 people to 24. I'm just putting it in business. Or even your parenting style and your patience with your children is going to increase. So your relationship with your spouse is going to, or your partner is going to get more intimate. These are the things that happen. Literally. I mean, I do it all in that as you're opening yourself up to yourself, you're able to love, have more of a capacity to love. As you're satisfying and being fulfilled, you have more patience. As you are achieving things that heretofore seemed out of your reach, you're going to have more confidence. So that is going to change everything in your life. And you'll know whether the people that are in your life can handle that or not. And there are going to be some who can't. And that isn't on you, that's on them.
Yes. And so in change, there are people who will fall away. But those people who fall away, they fall away because they themselves are not comfortable. But in them falling away, others step up. Absolutely. And all of a sudden, you end up with a bunch of people that you wouldn't even have thought that you'd be around and speaking and having lunches with and all these sorts of things. Because when you change, your world changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And we talk about, I have a client right now who she's going through the friendship shift right now.
Yes.
And, I'm talking to her and I'm saying, you're looking for people that are interested and interesting. You're looking for people that can meet you where you are. You're looking for people that are able to accept you and your growth and all the ways that you're showing up now. And this is exciting. And it's another layer of that change. And she's now just coming into, she did Voxer me this morning and I haven't had a chance to look at it, but there was something about, I went to this jewelry store and I just was in a vault with like, I don't even know, millions of dollars worth of gems. And I was at this place. She's like, I never would have done this a few months ago. Totally different. She was thrilled. And, I'll be able to unpack that with her this week.
Wonderful. It just sounds wonderful. And so when you talk about you investigated different types of medicines for your son, I just wanted to also go back and just touch there, because one of the things that you talked about was the Eastern and the Western medicine. So you didn't stop. I really love your personality because you really dig deep into your investigation when you do things. And so were you looking for more of a natural, or were you just looking for anything and everything that could help your son?
It was a combination of both. I was looking, I was looking for at anything and everything. But when I was at a doctor and he had esophageal issues and they were going to be putting a scope down his throat. He was only like 3 maybe. And they were going to do all these things. It was going to be 8 hours. And I was like, there has to be a more natural way. Like, so in that, there were a few times, Rhonda, that I was looking for the more natural, but honestly, I was like a scattergram. I was like any and all. And he had a huge appetite for healing, so I was able to do it. And we did lots of things.
Yeah. And so hands-on body, unconventional medicines, like that type of stuff as well?
Yeah, so we did tuning forks. We did
fantastic. This is what I want to know. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We did acupuncture, which is a little bit more mainstream. We did massage. We did yoga. We did something called I didn't even remember. The woman did a balanced child, but it's something that is for the brain body connection. We did polarity. We did OT. So that's occupational therapy. We did physical therapy, of course. We had to cross the midline. So we were doing things like playing air hockey and doing karate. So we did some very traditional things, but for a maybe non-traditional purpose. We had him finger painting all the time. We had him pouring water. He was at a Montessori school, so he could have that sensorial imprint because he needed the sensorial imprint. And we did, like I said, we did the whole shaman. We had to do some soul level healing. We did some shaman retrieval. We did some astrology. We did we did some chanting. I mean, name it, like literally think of something, Rhonda, and we did it.
You did it, yeah. And so the tuning forks, tell the audience a little bit about that and how that affects the body, because I'm also interested in that type of vibration, because people don't realize vibration and how healing correct vibration is on the body.
Oh, absolutely. So we all have a natural vibration, right? And
Right.
then we have that we get destabilized in that for whatever reason. And so 128 megahertz is a wellness vibration, and 136 is the Om of the earth vibration. So whenever if you're feeling scattered, or you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling out of sorts, a tuning fork, there are two different kinds. There's the unweighted, which don't have the Princess Leia, and I know no one can see this, but you can. They don't have the Princess Leia balls in the room. Right. Those are for sound, and you can heal your aura and your chakras. So you're healing like that, the nervous system, and you're healing, bringing yourself back into balance like that. Or you can get the weighted ones where you place on your body. And so you get that vibrational tuning for yourself that brings you back to calm. And there's lots of different others. I just went to the most simple megahertz and the most curative for everybody.
Yes. You know, my sponsor, Simatrax, Alan Brenton, he has done incredible research, and what his product does, and all of my podcasts are treated with digital audio health from Simatrax, which takes all of the white noise our brains can't hear. It takes that white noise out of music, podcasts, whatever it is, so that you have clean listening, because our brains, even though we may not hear white noise, our brains hear white noise. And I've interviewed him a couple of times on my show, and he said the worst thing that you can do for a college athlete is have a fridge beside their bed. You know, the little fridges when you're in college, and they're running, and that motor is running. It almost can make you, it affects your brain to the point where your grade point average will go down. But they've also done research on the monitors in children's room, which have white noise, and it actually affects their cognitive abilities. And they're doing research on this. So anything to do with vibration I'm very interested in. And also, I've also heard of healing from people going to the pyramids and laying in areas in the pyramid and staying there all night or for a few hours, because the wind comes in there and provides a vibration that heals the body as well.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, there's so much nature that will heal us. But, you know, when your blood's low, your blood's low. And so sometimes you need a boost.
100%. That's why the combination of both is so perfect. That's why, you know, with my son, Nick, that's why we did the, you know, Western medicine as well as the Eastern practice. And this is why in my business, I do the Eastern, you know, healing and astrology and, you know, things like tuning forks and crystals and things. But I do traditional business strategy because it is the combination of both. We are both spirit and we're human.
I love it. And it's such a balanced way to do business, really. You know,
absolutely.
The more I became in touch with myself and the more I was heart-centered, the more meditating I did, and the more I worked on my body of work, the calmer I was. And situations don't really faze me anymore. And I'm able to help and guide people along and gently, you know, and I mean, you answer their questions and do all of that stuff, but you come from a different place. Don't you agree, once you're in this sort of soul work, is that you come from a knowingness and a calmness that we're all pretty much the same. We're just a bunch of souls. You know, we're just a bunch of souls here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I say it when you start, you start stepping into intuition and you gain that perspective. I call it the, equanimity, right? You can kind of look over your life and you can have a different vantage point, and you can look and you be like, oh, that's a little hot mess over there. Or, gee, I got myself into a little of a quagmire, but you have a whole different vantage point where you can see it at a place where you can see it from the start, the middle, and the finish. And that gives you the pathway through.
Yes. And and often I say this on the show, in the midst of change, it's hard to see on the other side of change. And when you're on the other side of change, you're like, oh, for goodness sakes, it got me again. I thought that I was going to be in that situation or that state or that trying to learn that part of something in order to be on the other side of it. And it's only when we're on the other side we can reflect back and see where we really were. If we can remember and journal, if you journal every day, it's going to make a big difference in your life. You're listening to the Rhonda Grant Show right now, whose podcast has been treated with digital audio health by my sponsor, Symatrex. And today, we have the great pleasure of speaking with Kim Woods. Kim, let the audience know how they may reach out to you.
Yes, you can find me at my website, kimwoods.com, or you can follow me on Insta or Facegram or YouTube at Kim Woods Channel, one word, or on LinkedIn at Kim E. Woods. And I have a quiz that helps you map your soul pathway to success, and it's at yourstarmaptosuccess.com. Go ahead, take it. Over 21,000 people have taken it. It's going to give you your success signature from a star map perspective, and it's 12 questions, and it's super fun, and you'll come up with your signature, and I give lots of bonuses and information for you.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's extraordinary. I might take it myself.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so do you feel that you've crafted your journey, been called, or a bit of both?
I've definitely been called, and then it's required crafting to figure it out, because it's, as with everybody's journey, it's unique.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because you can feel called and sit around and do nothing.
Exactly.
Right. So you have to stand up to the calling and take the steps. Right. So what extraordinary discovery have you found in your life?
Well, right now I am downloading a star mapping system that's a little bit like a divination system. It's probably equivalent to human design. Well, so yeah, I know human design, combined I Ching with the Kabbalah, with astrology, with the Hindu chakra system. This isn't that. This is definitely based in astrological knowing, but it's a whole unique way of determining where you are on your soul journey. It's like a mapping system of saying you are here, and in order to get to the next step or the next phase or the next place, this is your pathway. That's downloading right now.
So if a person came to you and they had their chart read, you read their chart for them, what their soul imprint, is that what you would call it?
Yeah, that's their soul imprint. That's what they chose to come in with. So that's the way the stars were painted in the sky. And when we work together, not only helping them see their full potential, but we're looking at how they're navigating their stars that are happening within, and then how they're best navigating the stars that are happening in the sky at any given moment.
Well, that's awesome, because usually when you have your chart read, or you keep up with the daily horoscopes, if that's something that you do, it tells you something about yourself. And sometimes if you follow the planets, Mercury, if it's in retrograde, and some of the things that you need to be careful with during that time. But you are actually taking a person's soul blueprint, or their soul, blueprint, and then helping them navigate through some things and taking advantage or recognizing opportunities. Can you just give us a little bit more detail in that?
Yeah, 100%. So everybody has a soul blueprint, right? A star blueprint.
Yes.
And when you go to a typical astrologer, they'll read it for you, and then you say, great, you feel really good because you're euphoric, because your mind has all this information, but then you don't know what to do with it. So that's why I don't just do a one and done. No, you're going to come into the container. Right now, I'm living the divination system and the mapping system, but you have to work with me one-on-one, Rhonda. So what that would look like, you'd come in, I'd read your stars, and then your soul is telling me what where you're going to go next. And then the stars are giving us the pathways that will be open for you or not. So we're going to avoid the ones that aren't open, or we're going to open them, and then we're going to go down the clear pathways. But this system that's downloading is literally for me to be able to give this to people beyond me. I'm writing a book right now. There's a course I'm developing. The quiz is part of it. There's a whole methodology that people wouldn't have to come in and see one individual one-on-one. They'd be able to get it and have the information for themselves in their own navigation system. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So you said that you were writing a book. What are you writing the book? Do you have the title? What are you writing it on?
Yeah, so right now it looks like it's going to be the 5 power pairs, and it's the soul mapping for your success. That doesn't really roll off the tongue. The title might be tightened up a little bit.
Right.
But I'm about halfway through, and what I'm doing is I'm taking this whole divination system and I'm coming up with the top like 10% of things, because what I don't adore about something like astrology or human design is you get all this information, you don't know what to do with it.
I know.
So I have all the information that's already done. It's
Mm-hmm.
how do I make it really palatable and really useful and really accessible for people? That's what I'm working on with this book, and it's coming through. We have these great little compass, like you are here, and then if you're looking to step into your brilliance, for example, I've got like the pathway of the 4 aspects and how you're going to do that. You've got a self-assessment, and away we go. It's really cool.
Wow. Awesome. So let the audience know what divination means. You've said it a few times, and I finally have caught that.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk to us about that.
So you were talking about vibration. So
Mhm.
the intuitive space, that magical world, whatever we want to call it, the
Mhm.
tools that are Eastern and maybe feminine or yin or intuition. I'm just trying to look at all the words here. They are of a bent that is going to help heal you. They're gonna be giving you, some sort of support mechanism. Vibrational is energetic support for you and your body to come into alignment. Divination is information. They're messages for you so that your mind can become calmer and more certain.
Mm-hmm. And talk to us about energy. I mean, each individual has an energy field, and we also have auras. Mm-hmm. And so talk to us about energy and how a person's energy can be affected and how to help people ground in their energies.
Yeah. So everything is energy, right? If you remember back to maybe 4th grade or, whatever, like grammar school, we'll call it elementary school. And you may have heard, Newton, right? Like, the gases, solids and liquids, right? And you knew that like, gas, you can't see it. And so particles are moving really quickly. Water or liquid is moving less quickly. And then things that are solid are very, very dense. They're still all made up of energy. Right? Quantum physics, Einstein and the gang, they realize that, everything's moving and everything's constant. Everything is energy. So it's scientifically proven. Mm-hmm. If everything's energy, Rhonda, then how is it if you can walk down and you go into a grocery store and you're in a great mood, then all of a sudden you see somebody having a fight, or you're in a restaurant and the people next to you are all bickering or whatever, and you come out and you're in a bad mood? Yeah. You have picked up on that person's energy. Now, again, I'm not going to go back to all chemistry or all science, but entropy is a thing, and this is important in this case. Mm-hmm. We will automatically fall to the lowest level of energy. That's just fact. Mm-hmm. That's scientific fact. So think about this. You're in a great mood. You're vibing. You're in the flow. You feel really good. You maybe just got a massage, or you had a great basketball game or something, right? And you go into this circumstance, everybody's in a bad mood. And all of a sudden you're like, well, if our natural state is to fall into that lowest level of energy, you're right. How do we, protect our energy? And then how do we bring our energy up? This is a really good tool to use. The first thing that you should do is say, like, you're in a bad mood. You don't know why. You'd be like, is this even me? Because half the time it's not even you. And if it's not you, you'll all of a sudden feel a little bit better. You won't know why, but you'll be like, oh, phew, you feel a little sense of relief. If it is you, though, and you've taken it on, now you want to get rid of it. You can do something as easy as an energetic scrub. You can picture your favorite color. You can picture your favorite activity. You can picture your favorite person. You can be like, oh, all right. Oh, I love basketball, and I love the color green. I'm just going to like zhuzh myself up, imagining myself playing basketball, and I'm going to just like wear energetically the color green. You're going to feel better. You're totally going to feel better because you're going to shift back to your own energy, and you're going to lift it up by thinking and imagining something fun.
Mm-hmm. And, there's another thing with energy too, is that when you learn about your energy, you can also protect that energy. As soon as you see or hear, you can actually just ignore that energy so that it doesn't cross into your field. Because if there was a special light on us, we could see how our energies mold into other people's energy. And we may feel that we don't have a any control over that. And we really do have control
Mhm.
over that. And that's what I like about it. And I think the older you get, the more you realize that you have so much control over your emotions, your energy, and just not letting other people and situations bother you the way they did when you were younger, and only focus on the things that you have control over. And if you don't, you're struggling or having problems with that, well, you can reach out to Kim, and I'm sure that she will help you find where that is in the chart. As I say, we're here without a map unless we find out. And that's what happened to me. So is there anything that you'd like to talk about that I haven't asked you that you're burning to talk about?
I don't think so, Rhonda. I do want to say that if you do follow me, I do a 30-second weekly forecast on LinkedIn for you every Monday morning, which will be super helpful. Everybody adores that. And who doesn't have 30 seconds to themselves, for themselves to start the week? And I also do a 3 to 5 minute one on YouTube that I go into my success signatures. That's where you'll find out for your from the quiz. And I tell you for your specific signature how the week is going to go for you. So people find that very, very helpful.
Okay, so when you say specific signature, what do you mean by that? Because people might not know what that means.
Right. And so what I've done is, again, I'm looking to have you download like your star itself, right? So,
right.
So you may be a Virgo, or you may be a Capricorn. Mm-hmm. That the horoscope from that lens is not that helpful because you have so much other energy around you. What I've done is I've done a 12-question quiz that makes you ask yourself. It's really my methodology, and it's a success making methodology, and it's asking you how you wear yourself, basically how you're wearing your potential. And so once you answer those questions, you're going to be one of 6 signatures, and those 6 signatures have an energetic alignment with them. And then through the stars, I can tell you how your week is going to go. So you can get it. And I do this every Monday for you.
Wow. Through your stars. Mm-hmm. And so an energetic signature that will help you that day.
Yes, it will help you for that week. Yes.
Oh, for the week. Okay,
yeah, and sometimes wonderful. I'll mention it if there's a trigger day, or if there's like this week there's like a hollow day. A month from now there might be like, ooh, be mindful of Thursday. I'll let you know that. But in general, I take the whole week and I open up the energy for that, and I look through the stars and say, okay, this is the way it's going in the world. That's the 30-second one on LinkedIn. Ooh, this is the way it's going for your signature, of which there are 6, and I name those and go through those on YouTube every Monday morning.
Every Monday morning. And so what do you mean about a hollow day? What would that mean?
That would just be like, how like you might be getting some momentum, and then all of a sudden things just kind of stop, and you're like looking around like, why doesn't anything come together? There's a star reason for that. There's literally a star reason for it. So if you know it, you can say, gee, if I have some really important things and I have some flexibility in when I do them, you can avoid that day of doing them because things just won't come together. And it won't have anything to do with you.
No, and the thing is we take so many things personally, don't we?
Yes, we do.
We take because that's why they call it life. It's hard, and here we are without all the skills that we need, trying to navigate through this world. So I really appreciate that you've given so much information in such a short period of time. It was just delightful to have you on the show and interview you. It was fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've adored being here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Theme song for the Rhonda Grant Show is Sun on the Water, composed and performed by my friend John Park Wheeler. This is Rhonda Grant with the Rhonda Grant Show, author of Magical Forces Within, Extraordinary Discoveries in an Ordinary Life, inviting you to look for the magical forces within yourself today and every day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rhonda Grant Show with your host, Rhonda Grant. If you would like to find out more information about Rhonda and her upcoming guests and the work that she does, go to her website, rhondagrantauthor.com. That's rhondagrantauthor.com.
Digital Audio Health by Cymatrax.